Finally, forgiveness is transformative because it liberates your mind from the past and opens space for the present. When you hold on to resentment, you are anchored to what has already happened, replaying events and reliving pain. Forgiveness allows you to release that anchor, to step fully into the moment, and to engage with life unburdened by previous injuries. It restores the natural flow of your emotional energy, freeing you to focus on growth, love, and purpose. Through forgiveness, peace becomes not just a possibility, but a lived reality that is independent of the actions or words of others. As we come to the end of this journey together, it's important to pause and reflect on the truth that has been unfolding throughout these lessons. You are not powerless. No one, and I mean no one, has the authority to dictate your emotions, to steal your peace, or to determine the quality of your life unless you allow it. You control your emotions, you control your responses, and you control the story you tell yourself about every situation you face. The power to remain calm-centered and unshaken does not lie in the behavior of others, it lies within you. Perspective gives you the ability to see life clearly, to distinguish what truly matters from what is fleeting or insignificant, and to choose where to invest your energy. When you widen your view, the small annoyances and provocations that once controlled you lose their grip. Self-awareness strengthens you from the inside, revealing your patterns, your triggers, and your emotional tendencies, and giving you the power to respond intentionally rather than react impulsively. Emotional detachment teaches you to engage with the world fully without surrendering your inner peace, while daily habits build the foundation that makes calmness and resilience automatic in your life. Forgiveness, finally, releases the weight of the past, allowing you to reclaim your freedom, your energy, and your joy. When all these principles come together, you realize that anger, frustration, and being bothered are not inevitable, they are choices. They are the result of giving your power away, allowing external circumstances to dictate your internal state. But by practicing control over your emotions, expanding your perspective, cultivating self-awareness, maintaining emotional detachment, building calmness through daily habits, and embracing forgiveness, you can create a life where your peace is unshakable, your resilience is unwavering, and your strength comes from within. So today, take ownership of your emotional life. Choose calm over chaos. Choose clarity over confusion. Choose growth over reaction. Every moment presents an opportunity to practice these principles, to strengthen your inner resolve, and to walk through life unbothered by the words, actions, or opinions of others. The freedom you seek, the peace you long for, does not come from changing the world around you. It comes from mastering the world within you. And that, my friends, is a power no one can ever take away. Have you ever felt your blood boil over something someone said, only to realize later it didn't even matter? What if I told you that you could go through life without ever letting anyone make you angry, upset, or frustrated, and feel completely free? Today, I'm going to show you how to build inner strength so powerful that no one can shake your peace. It's a universal truth that life is filled with people, circumstances, and events that we cannot control. There will always be moments when someone cuts you off in traffic. A colleague takes credit for your work. A friend says something hurtful, or a family member acts in ways that frustrate you. If you're honest with yourself, you'll recognize that these moments happen daily, sometimes multiple times a day. The question isn't whether these things will occur, it's how you respond to them. Most people spend an enormous amount of their lives reacting to external forces, allowing the behavior of others to dictate their emotions, their thoughts, and their energy. But the truth The deep life-changing truth is that no one has the power to make you angry. No one can truly disturb your peace unless you give them permission to do so. You control your emotions, not others' actions. That is a statement so simple, yet so profoundly freeing. It shifts the responsibility from external circumstances to internal mastery. Many of us live as though our happiness, our calm, or our anger is controlled by the outside world. We get frustrated when someone cuts us off because we believe their action has the power to upset us. We feel hurt when someone criticizes us because we think their words define our worth. But in reality, anger is not a reaction, it's a choice. And this is where your inner strength begins realizing that your emotional state is yours alone, and no one else can claim it without your consent. Imagine your emotions as a garden. Every thought, every feeling is a seed planted in that garden. If you allow someone else's actions, someone's rude comment, their harsh criticism, their careless behavior, to determine your feelings, you are essentially letting them plant weeds in your garden. Those weeds will grow unless you actively choose what seeds you nurture. Choosing calm, choosing patience, choosing not to react in anger is like planting flowers. It's an intentional act that requires awareness and practice. But the beauty of it is that the garden is yours. No matter how chaotic the world is outside, you can maintain a sanctuary within yourself if you take ownership of your emotions. When you fully embrace this principle, it transforms the way you interact with the world. You begin to notice how often people and circumstances try to provoke you, how frequently external events attempt to stir a reaction, and yet, for the first time, you realize that you don't have to respond the way the world expects you to. It's liberating. It's empowering. And it's not about suppressing your feelings or pretending that hurtful actions don't matter. It's about choosing how to respond in a way that preserves your peace, your integrity, and your energy. Consider for a moment how many times you've felt angry in the past week. How many of those moments were truly necessary? How many were spent reacting to someone else's choices rather than actively shaping your own emotional experience? If we are honest, we often discover that much of our anger is wasted energy, spent on things that we have no control over. The power of this realization cannot be overstated. Once you recognize that you alone control your emotions, you stop giving your energy away to external chaos. You stop letting the noise of the world disturb your focus, your joy, and your ability to live fully. There's also a deeper aspect to this principle: accountability. To control your emotions means to hold yourself accountable for how you feel rather than blaming others for your internal state. It means accepting that your peace of mind is your responsibility. And while this may sound daunting at first, it is actually one of the most freeing truths you can ever embrace. By taking full responsibility for your emotional life, you are no longer a victim of circumstance, no longer a prisoner of someone else's behavior. You are free to respond with wisdom, patience, and calm, regardless of what happens around you. This is not to say that controlling your emotions is always easy. It is a practice, a discipline that must be cultivated over time. At first, it may feel unnatural to pause before reacting, to take a breath before responding, or to let someone's harsh words roll off your back instead of sticking like glue. But like any discipline, consistency is key. Each time you make a conscious choice not to be angry or upset, you strengthen your emotional muscles. You create a habit of inner control that becomes more natural over time. And gradually, what once felt impossible, remaining calm in the face of provocation, becomes your default state. Let's also acknowledge the power of perspective in this process. When someone acts in a way that could anger you, ask yourself, does this matter in 5 days, 5 months, or 5 years? Often, the answer is no. The act that seems so important in the moment loses its weight when viewed in the context of your life as a whole. And the more you practice seeing situations through this lens, the more you free yourself from unnecessary emotional turmoil. You begin to understand that anger is rarely productive. It doesn't change what happened, it doesn't improve the situation, and it doesn't serve your growth. What it does do, however, is steal your energy, rob your peace, and distract you from the life you are meant to live. Part of controlling your emotions also involves understanding triggers. Those moments, words, or actions that ignite anger within you. Self-awareness is a critical tool in this journey. When you know your triggers, you can anticipate them, prepare for them, and respond differently. For example, if you know that a certain colleague's tone irritates you, you can choose to step back, breathe, and respond calmly instead of reacting with frustration. If you know that social media posts often make you upset, you can choose to limit exposure and protect your emotional state. The power lies not in avoiding life's challenges, but in responding to them from a place of strength rather than impulsive emotion. It's also worth noting that controlling your emotions doesn't mean you ignore injustice or avoid standing up for yourself. It means you approach every situation with clarity, wisdom, and composure. You don't lash out because someone disrespects you. Instead, you address the issue calmly and assertively, making your point without compromising your peace. This is the essence of emotional mastery: responding instead of reacting, acting from strength instead of weakness, and maintaining your dignity in every circumstance. One of the most compelling reasons to master your emotions is the impact it has on relationships. When you stop reacting in anger or frustration, your interactions with others improve dramatically. People are drawn to calmness, to composure, and to stability. Your ability to remain unshaken by provocation creates a sense of trust and respect. You model emotional intelligence for others, and in doing so, you elevate not just your own life, but the lives of those around you. And perhaps most importantly, controlling your emotions allows you to reclaim your energy. Anger, resentment, and frustration are exhausting. They drain your mental, emotional, and even physical resources. When you choose not to let external forces control you, you redirect that energy toward growth, creativity, and joy. You invest in yourself rather than in the chaos of others. Over time, this creates a profound sense of freedom, a freedom to live your life on your terms with intentionality, clarity, and peace. The practice of controlling your emotions also builds resilience. Life will always throw challenges your way. People will act in ways that frustrate or hurt you, and circumstances will inevitably go awry. But when you have mastered the ability to maintain your composure and protect your emotional state, you develop a resilience that cannot be shaken. You are no longer a leaf blown around by every gust of wind. Instead, you are a rooted tree, stable and unmovable, regardless of the storms around you. The path to emotional mastery is a journey, not a destination. It requires vigilance, reflection, and a willingness to pause before reacting. Each day presents opportunities to practice choosing calm over anger, wisdom over impulsivity, and peace over chaos. And each time you succeed, you strengthen your inner foundation, preparing yourself for even greater challenges and deeper growth. The key is to remember that your emotions are your own, and no one else has the power to take them from you unless you allow it. Perspective is one of the most underrated tools for personal growth, emotional resilience, and inner peace. So often we allow life to feel heavy, complicated, or unfair, not because of the events themselves, but because of the way we perceive them. When someone criticizes us, When circumstances disappoint us, or when the world seems chaotic, it's easy to feel small, helpless, or angry. But here's the truth. It's rarely the events themselves that disturb us. It's the story we tell ourselves about them. And when we learn to shift perspective, the same situation that once triggered anger, frustration, or fear can become a moment of clarity, growth, or even gratitude. Perspective is not just a mindset, it's a superpower. Consider for a moment how often you get upset over things that, in the grand scheme of life, are truly insignificant. Maybe a coworker made a careless comment, a friend forgot to respond, or someone cut you off in traffic. At the time, it may feel personal, infuriating, or even cruel. Your mind immediately reacts. How dare they? This is unfair. Why me? And in that moment, your perspective narrows. You are trapped in the details, in the perceived injustice, in the story your mind has created. But when you take a step back and expand your perspective, you begin to see that these incidents are minor, fleeting, and in most cases, completely outside your control. The world does not conspire against you, and your peace does not need to be surrendered to small annoyances. Perspective changes everything because it allows you to choose the lens through which you view life. Two people can experience the same situation and interpret it in radically different ways. One person sees a challenge and becomes anxious, resentful, and overwhelmed. Another person sees the same challenge as an opportunity to learn, to grow, or to practice patience. The event itself is identical, but the experience is completely different. This is the power of perspective. It shifts the power from external circumstances to your internal interpretation, and it reminds you that you are not a victim of your environment. You are the author of your experience. When it comes to anger or being bothered by others, perspective is especially critical. How many times have you reacted emotionally to someone's words or actions only to realize later that it didn't matter at all? How often have you spent hours, days, or even weeks stewing over something that, from a broader point of view, was irrelevant? This is the trap of a narrow perspective. It magnifies minor problems, it fuels unnecessary stress, and it steals your energy. But when you cultivate a wider perspective, you learn to differentiate between what truly matters and what does not. You see the difference between temporary discomfort and lasting harm, between minor irritations and meaningful challenges, and between opinions of others and your own self-worth. Perspective also allows you to find meaning in adversity. Life is inevitably filled with difficult moments, setbacks, and disappointments. And yet, every challenge carries a lesson if we are willing to look through the lens of growth. When someone behaves unfairly, we can view it as an opportunity to practice patience, humility, or emotional mastery. When plans fall apart, we can see it as an opportunity to cultivate flexibility and creativity. Perspective transforms suffering into learning, frustration into understanding, and obstacles into stepping stones. The same situation that might once have caused anger or resentment now becomes a classroom, a chance to strengthen your character and expand your inner strength. A critical aspect of perspective is recognizing the impermanence of most problems. Human beings have a tendency to exaggerate the importance of what is happening in the moment, forgetting that time changes everything. The conflict that seems unbearable today, the insult that stings sharply now, the mistake that feels catastrophic in the moment, these are all temporary. Time has a way of dissolving the intensity of our experiences, and perspective allows us to see that reality. When you zoom out, you realize that the world is vast, your life is long, and most of the things that provoke immediate anger or anxiety are fleeting. This realization can calm the mind, stabilize the emotions, and restore a sense of control over your life. perspective also has a humbling effect. When you see beyond your immediate experience, you begin to recognize that everyone is dealing with struggles, insecurities, and challenges of their own. The person who cut you off in traffic may be late to an important appointment. The coworker who criticized you may be struggling with pressures you cannot see. The friend who forgot your message may be overwhelmed by obligations you are unaware of. Expanding your perspective helps you see people more compassionately and humanizes the world around you. Anger often arises from a sense of personal affront, but when you understand the broader context of someone else's behavior, the emotional sting begins to fade. Another key component of perspective is gratitude. When you shift your focus from what is wrong to what is right, your experience of life transforms. Gratitude does not ignore problems, but it places them within a larger framework of abundance and positive experience. For example, someone may say something hurtful, but if you focus on the countless acts of kindness, support, and love in your life, the negative words lose their power. Perspective allows you to prioritize what truly deserves your attention and what can be released. It strengthens your ability to remain calm, composed, and unshaken by the behavior of others because you see the bigger picture. Perspective is also cultivated through reflection. Taking the time to pause, breathe, and ask yourself questions like, will this matter in a week, a month, or a year? Can radically change how you feel. Reflection helps you disentangle emotions from facts. Separating what actually happened from the story your mind is telling about it. And in doing so, you create space to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Over time, this practice rewires your brain, making calm and rational response the default, even in situations that would have once provoked anger or distress. Moreover, perspective nurtures emotional independence. When you understand that the meaning of events lies not in the events themselves, but in your interpretation of them, you gain freedom from the need for external validation or control. No longer are you at the mercy of other people's words, actions, or opinions. You can experience life fully, make your own choices, and maintain inner peace regardless of the chaos outside. This independence is essential for building a life of resilience, joy, and unshakable inner strength. Perspective is not about ignoring reality or pretending everything is fine when it is not. It is about seeing clearly, understanding fully, and responding wisely. It is about recognizing what you can change, what you can influence, and what is outside your control. The more you cultivate this skill, the less you are disturbed by minor annoyances, petty conflicts, and temporary setbacks. You begin to see that anger and frustration are optional responses, chosen only when your perspective is limited or your attention is focused on the wrong thing. As you deepen your understanding of perspective, you also begin to experience a sense of empowerment. You realize that your inner state is not determined by others, but by how you choose to interpret, respond to, and engage with the world. You are no longer a passive participant in life, tossed around by external circumstances. Instead, you are an active agent, shaping your experience, choosing your response, and controlling the quality of your emotional life. Perspective, in essence, is the lens through which freedom and mastery become possible. Inner strength is one of the most powerful forces a person can cultivate, but it doesn't appear out of nowhere. It isn't something you inherit, win, or stumble upon by accident. True inner strength is born from self-awareness, the ability to understand yourself deeply, to recognize your patterns, your triggers, your motivations, and your emotional tendencies. Without self-awareness, you may have moments of courage or resilience, but they are often inconsistent and reactive. With self-awareness, you gain the ability to respond intentionally, to remain steady in the face of provocation, and to live a life guided by clarity rather than chaos. Self-awareness begins with honest observation. It requires taking a step back from your life and asking yourself the hard questions. What makes me angry? What situations or behaviors consistently bother me? Why do I react the way I do when I feel hurt, criticized, or ignored? These questions may feel uncomfortable at first because self-awareness is not about patting yourself on the back or celebrating your strengths. It's about confronting the aspects of yourself that are often hidden, ignored, or avoided. It is about recognizing where your emotional patterns have been reactive rather than intentional, and understanding how those patterns impact your life. Many people mistake strong emotions for weakness, but the opposite is true. Understanding your emotions, tracing them to their source, analyzing the triggers, and noticing the patterns builds resilience. When you know yourself, you are less likely to be controlled by the whims, words, or actions of others. You stop being a leaf in the wind, tossed and turned by every comment or circumstance. Self-awareness equips you with the tools to navigate life deliberately. You begin to notice the difference between your feelings and your thoughts, between the story your mind is telling and the reality of the moment, and between temporary discomfort and genuine harm. An essential component of self-awareness is understanding your triggers. Triggers are those moments, events, or words that provoke strong emotional reactions: anger, frustration, hurt, or anxiety. Often these triggers are rooted in past experiences, unresolved emotions, or deeply held beliefs about ourselves and the world. By identifying these triggers, you gain insight into why certain situations elicit strong reactions. This is crucial because awareness allows you to pause before responding, creating a space between stimulus and reaction. In that pause, you find freedom, the freedom to choose your response, the freedom to act from inner strength rather than impulsive emotion, and the freedom to maintain your peace regardless of external circumstances. Self-awareness also involves recognizing your thought patterns. Human beings tend to engage in automatic thinking, often reacting to events without conscious consideration. You might notice yourself ruminating on what someone said, replaying conversations, or imagining worst-case scenarios. These patterns, if left unchecked, feed anger, resentment, and stress. But self-awareness allows you to identify these loops and intervene. You learn to ask yourself, is this thought helping me? Is it reflecting reality, or am I exaggerating or misinterpreting? This awareness provides the opportunity to redirect your mind, to replace reactive thoughts with intentional reflections, and to cultivate a mindset that supports calmness, resilience, and inner strength. Inner strength through self-awareness also requires understanding your emotional boundaries. Many people are constantly at the mercy of others' behavior because they haven't clearly defined where their emotional responsibility begins and ends. Self-awareness allows you to distinguish between what you can control, your responses, your choices, your focus, and what you cannot control, the actions, words, and opinions of others. When you recognize this distinction, you stop giving away your power. You understand that while you cannot control the world, you can control yourself. And that realization is liberating because it shifts your energy from trying to change others to mastering your own mind and emotions. A critical practice in building self-awareness is reflection. Taking time each day to examine your experiences, your reactions, and your emotions is essential. Reflection can be done through journaling, meditation, or simply pausing to think about the events of the day. Ask yourself, when did I feel most frustrated? When did I feel calm and composed? What patterns do I notice in my interactions? Over time, this practice creates a deeper understanding of yourself and provides insight into how to navigate challenges with greater skill. Reflection transforms experience into wisdom, helping you recognize that inner strength is not about never feeling anger or frustration. It's about managing and directing those emotions intentionally. Self-awareness also fosters humility. When you are truly aware of your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, you begin to see yourself clearly, including your weaknesses and imperfections. This clarity prevents defensiveness, reduces the need for validation from others, and encourages growth. You no longer react impulsively to criticism because you understand the areas where improvement is possible, and you do not let your ego dictate your responses. Humility, coupled with self-awareness, creates a foundation for emotional stability that cannot be easily shaken by the behavior of others. Another powerful aspect of self-awareness is understanding your values and priorities. Inner strength is deeply connected to living in alignment with your core beliefs. When you know what matters most to you, it becomes easier to maintain composure and perspective. You are less likely to be distracted by trivial annoyances, petty conflicts, or attempts by others to provoke you. Your energy is directed toward meaningful pursuits, toward actions that reflect your character, and toward relationships and activities that support your growth. This alignment between values and actions strengthens your inner fortitude and enhances your ability to remain undisturbed by external pressures. Self-awareness also enhances emotional intelligence. By observing your own feelings and reactions, you become more attuned to the emotions of others. You can respond to conflict with empathy rather than defensiveness, engage in difficult conversations with clarity rather than hostility, and build stronger, more meaningful relationships. The ability to remain calm and composed in challenging situations is not about suppressing emotions. It's about understanding them, understanding yourself, and understanding the dynamics at play. Emotional intelligence is a direct result of self-awareness and is essential for cultivating resilience, influence, and inner strength. Inner strength cultivated through self-awareness is also reflected in decision-making. People who lack self-awareness often make impulsive choices based on temporary feelings, pressures, or the expectations of others. Self-aware individuals, however, make decisions grounded in clarity, insight, and a deep understanding of their own priorities. This intentionality reduces regret, increases confidence, and provides a sense of control over life's outcomes. When you understand yourself, you act from a place of wisdom rather than reaction, and this ability to act intentionally reinforces your emotional stability and overall resilience. Finally, self-awareness nurtures patience. When you understand your own triggers, patterns, and emotional responses, you are better able to pause, reflect, and respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. You recognize that people act according to their own limitations, experiences, and beliefs, and that most conflicts are temporary and resolvable. Patience is not passive, it is an active practice of strength. Self-awareness gives you the clarity to remain composed, to wait for the right moment to act, and to respond with wisdom rather than anger. Through self-awareness, inner strength is cultivated slowly, intentionally, and consistently. It is not a trait you are born with. It is a muscle you build through observation, reflection, and conscious practice. By understanding yourself deeply, your emotions, triggers, values, priorities, and thought patterns, you gain the ability to respond with intentionality rather than reaction. You create space between stimulus and response, and within that space lies freedom, power, and unshakable calm. Self-awareness is the cornerstone of emotional mastery, and emotional mastery is the foundation of inner strength. One of the most profound lessons in cultivating inner peace and resilience is understanding the difference between emotional detachment and indifference. So often, when people hear the term detachment, they imagine a cold, distant, uncaring approach to life. They worry that detachment means shutting off their heart, ignoring relationships, or pretending that nothing affects them. But in reality, emotional detachment is not about apathy. It is about maintaining control over your own inner state while engaging with life fully and compassionately. Detachment allows you to navigate the world without being overwhelmed by it, without letting the behavior of others dictate your peace, and without compromising your values or well-being. Emotional detachment is about creating healthy boundaries for your mind and your heart. It is recognizing that while you can care deeply for others, you do not need to absorb their negativity, anger, or drama. Many people live their lives emotionally entangled with others, reacting impulsively to criticism, manipulation, or conflict. They give away their power by allowing their emotions to be hijacked by external circumstances. Emotional detachment teaches you to step back, to observe without becoming consumed, and to respond intentionally rather than react reflexively. It is not a lack of care. It is a conscious choice to preserve your inner stability and clarity while still engaging fully with the world around you. To practice emotional detachment, the first step is recognizing what is truly yours and what is not. Your emotions, your thoughts, and your choices are yours to manage. The words, actions, and opinions of others are theirs. When someone acts out, insults you, or behaves in a way you perceive as wrong, it is natural to feel an initial reaction. That initial spark of emotion is human. But emotional detachment is about not allowing that spark to ignite a wildfire of anger, resentment, or frustration. It is about observing the situation clearly, understanding the underlying dynamics, and responding from a place of strength rather than reactivity. It is important to note that detachment does not mean passivity. Being emotionally detached does not require you to avoid conflict, ignore injustice, or suppress your feelings. Instead, it means responding with clarity and purpose. When someone treats you unfairly, detachment allows you to address the issue without becoming emotionally consumed. You can set boundaries, communicate effectively, and protect yourself without reacting impulsively or allowing the other person's behavior to dictate your inner state. Detachment is about maintaining control over your energy and your emotions, which in turn allows you to navigate challenges with wisdom and grace. Emotional detachment is also closely linked to self-respect and self-preservation. When you allow others to dictate your emotional state, you are essentially surrendering your power to them. Over time, this can erode confidence, create unnecessary stress, and compromise your mental and emotional well-being. Detachment restores that power. It allows you to engage with life and relationships while maintaining a strong sense of identity and personal boundaries. You can care for others, invest in relationships, and contribute meaningfully without sacrificing your own peace or stability. A critical element of detachment is learning to separate your peace from outcomes. So often, we tie our emotional well-being to what happens in the world, whether someone acknowledges our efforts, whether a relationship goes the way we hoped, or whether circumstances align with our expectations. Detachment teaches us that our inner state does not need to depend on external outcomes. You can care deeply about a project, a relationship, or a situation while remaining emotionally steady regardless of how it unfolds. This is a transformative realization because it frees you from the constant cycle of disappointment, frustration, or anger that comes from expecting the world to conform to your desires. Emotional detachment also requires clarity about your own values and priorities. When you know what truly matters to you, you can more easily let go of what does not. Not every criticism requires a response. Not every slight demands attention. And not every situation needs your emotional energy. By focusing on what aligns with your values and letting go of what does not, you conserve your energy for what truly deserves it. Detachment is not about avoiding life's challenges. It is about choosing where to invest your emotional energy wisely, so you remain resilient and grounded even in the face of difficulties. Another dimension of detachment is understanding the impermanence of most challenges and conflicts. Life is constantly changing, and most issues that provoke strong emotions are temporary. By practicing detachment, you learn to observe these situations with a broader perspective. You recognize that most conflicts are fleeting, most insults are momentary, and most frustrations are minor when compared to the larger picture of life. This understanding allows you to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively and helps you maintain calmness and composure even when the world around you feels chaotic. Emotional detachment also promotes compassion and empathy. When you are not consumed by your own emotional reactions, you can better understand the experiences of others. You can see their struggles, limitations, and intentions more clearly and respond with patience and kindness. Detachment does not remove your capacity to care. Rather, it allows you to care without being overwhelmed or manipulated. You engage with the world from a place of strength, which enhances both your emotional resilience and your ability to support others effectively. Practicing detachment requires intentionality and consistent effort. It is not a skill that develops overnight. It begins with small moments. Pausing before responding to a provocative comment, choosing not to engage in gossip or negativity, or observing your emotions without immediately acting on them. Over time, these small acts of conscious detachment accumulate, building a habit of emotional stability and self-mastery. You learn to navigate challenges with clarity, respond to conflict with wisdom, and maintain your peace regardless of external pressures. Detachment also involves reframing your understanding of control. Many people become emotionally entangled because they attempt to control what cannot be controlled, the behavior, opinions, or decisions of others. Emotional detachment teaches you to let go of the illusion of control over others and instead focus on what you can control: your response, your perspective, and your energy. This shift is liberating because it moves your focus inward toward your own growth and stability rather than outward toward the unpredictable behavior of the world. It is important to emphasize that detachment is not a form of avoidance. It is not about ignoring problems or pretending that challenges do not exist. True emotional detachment allows you to confront difficulties directly, to make decisions intentionally, and to address conflicts effectively, all while maintaining a sense of calm and inner strength. By separating your emotional state from the drama, chaos, or negativity around you, you create the mental clarity necessary to act with purpose and integrity. Emotional detachment also fosters resilience. Life will inevitably present situations that are difficult, people who are challenging, and events that provoke frustration or anger. By practicing detachment, you learn to weather these storms without losing your composure. You maintain a sense of equilibrium, even when circumstances are unpredictable or hostile. This resilience is the foundation of inner strength, allowing you to navigate life with confidence, poise, and unshakable peace. Finally, detachment is a practice of freedom. When you are emotionally detached, you are free from the need to seek approval, to control outcomes, or to react to every perceived slight. You operate from a place of autonomy, choosing your responses consciously, preserving your energy, and protecting your well-being. This freedom enhances not only your inner strength, but also your ability to live authentically, to engage fully with life, and to maintain your peace regardless of the external circumstances surrounding you. One of the most powerful ways to cultivate inner peace and resilience is through daily habits. While it's true that insight, self-awareness, and perspective can transform your life, those qualities must be reinforced through consistent action. Calmness is not a state that happens by chance. It is a skill developed through intentional routines, repeated practices, and small, consistent choices over time. The habits you adopt on a daily basis are the building blocks of your emotional stability, your mental clarity, and your ability to remain unshaken by the world around you. Daily habits are powerful because they shape your mind and body before the world has a chance to impose chaos. The first hours of your day, for example, set the tone for everything that follows. If you begin your day reactive, hurried, or distracted, it is almost impossible to respond to challenges with calmness. But if you cultivate a morning routine that grounds you, centers you, and focuses your mind, you create an internal environment in which serenity becomes possible. Simple practices such as mindful breathing, meditation, journaling, or even quiet reflection can reprogram your mind to approach life from a place of composure rather than reaction. These habits are not about perfection, they are about consistency. Each day you invest in these small acts, you strengthen your mental resilience and build the neural pathways that make calmness your default state. Breathing practices are among the simplest yet most effective daily habits for cultivating calmness. It sounds almost too easy, but the breath is intimately connected to your nervous system and your emotional state. When you are stressed, anxious, or angry, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid, which further fuels tension and emotional reactivity. By intentionally slowing your breath, taking deep, measured inhales and exhales, you signal to your body and mind that it is safe to relax. Over time, incorporating this habit throughout the day allows you to maintain a sense of calm, even when external circumstances are turbulent. The breath becomes a tool, a reset button that you can use to return to clarity and stability whenever life threatens to overwhelm you. Journaling is another transformative habit for cultivating inner calm. By putting your thoughts, worries, and emotions onto paper, you create space in your mind. Journaling allows you to observe patterns, recognize triggers, and process experiences in a conscious and deliberate way. It is a practice of self-reflection that reinforces self-awareness and emotional mastery. Writing down your feelings does not mean suppressing them or pretending they do not exist. It means giving yourself the opportunity to understand them, to see them clearly, and to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Over time, journaling strengthens your capacity to approach life with calm, clarity, and composure. Mindfulness and meditation are also critical daily practices for building calmness. Mindfulness trains the mind to focus on the present moment, to observe thoughts and emotions without judgment, and to cultivate awareness of your internal state. Meditation deepens this practice by creating intentional periods of stillness, reflection, and mental clarity. Both practices are essentially workouts for the mind. They develop the muscles of attention, focus, and emotional regulation. With regular practice, you become less reactive to external events, more resilient in the face of stress, and increasingly capable of maintaining inner peace regardless of what is happening around you. Another important daily habit is the conscious consumption of information. In today's world, we are constantly bombarded with news, social media, and messages can provoke anxiety, frustration, or anger. By carefully curating what you allow into your mind, you reduce unnecessary stress and protect your emotional well-being. This might mean limiting exposure to social media, avoiding sensationalist news, or setting boundaries around conversations that are consistently negative or draining. The habit of controlling what you consume is a subtle but powerful way to maintain calmness. It prevents external noise from hijacking your thoughts and allows you to focus on what truly matters. Physical activity is another foundational habit that supports emotional stability. Exercise is not only beneficial for the body, it is one of the most effective ways to regulate mood and reduce stress. Movement releases endorphins, lowers cortisol, and improves energy levels, which collectively contribute to a sense of calm and mental clarity. Daily habits such as walking, stretching, yoga, or strength training may seem small, but they have a cumulative effect on your emotional resilience. When the body is healthy, energized, and balanced, the mind is better equipped to respond rather than react, to remain composed rather than agitated. Sleep is equally critical in building inner calmness. A restless or inadequate night's sleep amplifies emotional reactivity, reduces patience, and clouds judgment. Establishing a routine that prioritizes quality sleep, going to bed at a consistent time, creating a restful environment, and limiting stimulants before bedtime directly impacts your ability to navigate life with composure. Sleep is the reset for your mind and body, and when treated as a daily habit, it enhances your capacity to maintain calm in situations that would otherwise trigger stress or frustration. Gratitude is another daily practice that reinforces calmness. By taking time each day to acknowledge what you are thankful for, you shift your perspective from scarcity to abundance, from frustration to appreciation. Gratitude trains the mind to focus on the positive aspects of life, reducing the impact of stressors and external provocations. This habit does not deny difficulties or hardships. It simply grounds you in the reality that even amidst challenges, there is something to value, something to hold on to, and something to fuel your resilience. Over time, gratitude becomes a lens through which the world is experienced, making calmness a natural outcome rather than a forced effort. The way you speak to yourself is also a daily habit that builds inner peace. Self-talk shapes your beliefs, emotions, and actions. Negative or critical self-talk fuels anxiety, frustration, and anger, while positive, affirming self-talk reinforces confidence, resilience, and calm. By consciously choosing how you speak to yourself each day, whether internally or externally, you are practicing emotional regulation. This habit strengthens your ability to remain grounded, centered, and composed in moments that would otherwise trigger stress or reactive behavior. Routine reflection on your goals and values is another essential habit. By reminding yourself daily of what truly matters, your purpose, your priorities, and the kind of person you want to be, you create an internal compass. This compass allows you to navigate challenges without being thrown off course by minor annoyances, conflicts, or provocations. The habit of reflection keeps your mind focused on long-term vision rather than short-term disturbances, reinforcing a calm, measured, and intentional approach to life. Finally, connecting regularly with supportive people is a daily habit that nurtures calmness. Surrounding yourself with individuals who encourage, uplift, and model composure creates an environment that supports your emotional well-being. Positive relationships provide perspective, accountability, and encouragement. By investing in these connections consistently, you reinforce habits of calmness, empathy, and resilience. Daily habits, when practiced consistently, compound over time. Just as physical exercise strengthens the body gradually, daily mental and emotional practices strengthen the mind. Each small, deliberate action, whether it is mindful breathing, journaling, gratitude, exercise, meditation, or reflection, adds a layer of resilience, reinforcing your capacity to remain calm under pressure, unshaken by external chaos, and grounded in your own inner strength. The key is not perfection, but consistency. Even small steps practiced day after day shape a mind capable of serenity, focus, and emotional mastery. Forgiveness is one of the most profound and transformative practices a person can engage in, especially when it comes to maintaining inner peace. Many people misunderstand forgiveness, believing it means excusing bad behavior, pretending someone's actions didn't hurt, or even reconciling with someone who has wronged them. But forgiveness is not about them, it's about you. It is the conscious decision to release the grip that resentment, anger, or bitterness has on your life. Forgiveness allows you to reclaim the peace, clarity, and energy that you might otherwise surrender to someone else's wrongdoing. Anger and resentment are natural responses to being hurt, mistreated, or betrayed. They are emotional signals that something is wrong, that boundaries were crossed, or that your expectations were violated. Yet, holding on to these emotions indefinitely is harmful to you first. It consumes mental energy, fuels stress, and corrodes emotional stability. In essence, carrying grudges is like holding a hot coal in your hand. You continue to burn yourself while hoping the other person feels the pain. Forgiveness is the act of putting that coal down. It does not mean the wrong is justified, but it means you are choosing to prioritize your own well-being over perpetual resentment. The act of forgiveness requires courage because it is counterintuitive to human instincts. When someone wrongs us, our first response is often to protect ourselves through anger, retaliation, or withdrawal. These reactions can feel justified, but they tether us to the person or situation that caused harm. Forgiveness, on the other hand, requires a conscious choice to disengage emotionally from the past, to stop replaying the incident in your mind, and to refuse to let it dictate your present emotional state. It is an act of power, not weakness, because it allows you to reclaim authority over your life and your inner peace. Forgiveness also requires perspective. Often, people believe that forgiving someone diminishes the gravity of the offense or diminishes their own feelings of hurt. In reality, forgiveness is rooted in the recognition that holding on to anger only prolongs your suffering. By viewing the situation through a lens of growth and understanding, you begin to see that forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, not the other person. It frees your mind from obsessing over injustice, resentment, or retaliation, allowing you to focus your energy on what truly matters: your life, your purpose, and your well-being. One of the most transformative aspects of forgiveness is the effect it has on your emotional resilience. People who practice forgiveness consistently report lower stress levels, improved relationships, and a greater capacity to navigate life's challenges with calmness and clarity. This is because forgiveness removes the emotional hooks that tether you to the past. When you forgive, you are no longer reacting to old wounds. You are fully present, capable of engaging with life without the burden of resentment weighing you down. It strengthens your ability to remain composed in the face of provocation and unshaken when the world presents challenges or conflict. Forgiveness is also deeply connected to self-awareness. To forgive effectively, you must understand your own triggers, your patterns of reaction, and the emotions that arise from being wronged. Self-awareness allows you to observe the hurt, acknowledge it, and make a conscious choice to release it rather than letting it fester. By understanding how certain experiences affect you emotionally, you gain clarity on why forgiveness is necessary, and you can approach it with intentionality rather than obligation. This practice enhances emotional mastery and strengthens your inner resolve. It's important to recognize that forgiveness does not require reconciliation. You can forgive someone without returning to a relationship or condoning their behavior. In fact, forgiveness often works best when it is independent of external circumstances. The decision to forgive is internal, and its effects are felt within your own mind, heart, and spirit. By practicing forgiveness in this way, you create a protected space for your peace. You no longer allow the actions of others, whether they apologize, change, or acknowledge the hurt, to determine your emotional state. Your calmness becomes your own responsibility, and forgiveness is a key tool in maintaining it. Forgiveness also encourages empathy and compassion. When you reflect on the fact that everyone is flawed, struggling, or acting out of their own pain or ignorance, it becomes easier to let go of resentment. Empathy does not excuse harmful behavior, but it shifts your understanding of human imperfection. This broader perspective softens anger and allows you to approach life with compassion, which in turn preserves your own peace. People often carry emotional burdens because they cannot see beyond their own hurt. Forgiveness expands your view, allowing space for understanding, empathy, and emotional release. The practice of forgiveness is closely linked to health and well-being. Studies have shown that holding on to anger, bitterness, or resentment increases stress hormones, weakens the immune system, and contributes to physical ailments. Conversely, forgiveness has been associated with lower blood pressure, improved cardiovascular health, and reduced anxiety. This reinforces the idea that forgiveness is not just a moral or emotional act, it is a practical, physiological strategy for protecting your overall health and maintaining your inner strength. Forgiveness is also a daily practice, not a one-time decision. It is a commitment to respond to life's challenges and interpersonal conflicts with grace, patience, and emotional intelligence. Each time you are hurt, criticized, or misunderstood, you are presented with an opportunity to choose forgiveness. This repeated practice strengthens the neural pathways that allow calmness, resilience, and clarity to become habitual. Over time, forgiveness becomes a reflexive response rather than a conscious struggle, allowing you to navigate life with greater ease and stability. The role of forgiveness in relationships is profound. Family, friends, colleagues, and partners will inevitably make mistakes, act out of selfishness, or say things that hurt. Without forgiveness, these incidents accumulate into resentment, tension, and emotional fatigue. With forgiveness, you maintain relational harmony and emotional balance. Forgiveness allows you to engage with others authentically and compassionately while protecting your peace. It prevents minor infractions from becoming emotional chains and allows connections to be rooted in understanding rather than grievance. Forgiveness also enhances self-respect. It demonstrates that you value your own peace above the need for revenge or validation. When you choose to forgive, you are asserting that your emotional state, your clarity, and your calmness matter more than the need to hold on to anger. This reinforces self-mastery, builds confidence, and strengthens your ability to maintain composure under pressure. Forgiveness is both an act of strength and a reflection of your commitment to inner freedom. Finally, forgiveness is transformative because it liberates your mind from the past and opens space for the present. When you hold on to resentment, you are anchored to what has already happened, replaying events and reliving pain. Forgiveness allows you to release that anchor, to step fully into the moment, and to engage with life unburdened by previous injuries. It restores the natural flow of your emotional energy, freeing you to focus on growth, love, and purpose. Through forgiveness, peace becomes not just a possibility, but a lived reality that is independent of the actions or words of others. As we come to the end of this journey together, it's important to pause and reflect on the truth that has been unfolding throughout these lessons. You are not powerless. No one, and I mean no one, has the authority to dictate your emotions, to steal your peace, or to determine the quality of your life unless you allow it. You control your emotions, you control your responses, and you control the story you tell yourself about every situation you face. The power to remain calm, centered, and unshaken does not lie in the behavior of others, it lies within you. Perspective gives you the ability to see life clearly, to distinguish what truly matters from what is fleeting or insignificant, and to choose where to invest your energy. When you widen your view, the small annoyances and provocations that once controlled you lose their grip. Self-awareness strengthens you from the inside, revealing your patterns, your triggers, and your emotional tendencies, and giving you the power to respond intentionally rather than react impulsively. Emotional detachment teaches you to engage with the world fully without surrendering your inner peace, while daily habits build the foundation that makes calmness and resilience automatic in your life. Forgiveness, finally, releases the weight of the past, allowing you to reclaim your freedom, your energy, and your joy. When all these principles come together, you realize that anger, frustration, and being bothered are not inevitable, they are choices. They are the result of giving your power away, allowing external circumstances to dictate your internal state. But by practicing control over your emotions, expanding your perspective, cultivating self-awareness, maintaining emotional detachment, building calmness through daily habits, and embracing forgiveness, you can create a life where your peace is unshakable, your resilience is unwavering, and your strength comes from within. So today, take ownership of your emotional life. Choose calm over chaos. Choose clarity over confusion. Choose growth over reaction. Every moment presents an opportunity to practice these principles, to strengthen your inner resolve, and to walk through life unbothered by the words, actions, or opinions of others. The freedom you seek, the peace you long for, does not come from changing the world around you. It comes from mastering the world within you. And that, my friends, is a power no one can ever take away.